I'm Tanzina Vega, and this is The Takeaway. Ramsey Orta, the man who filmed the police killing of Eric Garner in Staten Island, New York in 2014, was released from prison this month. Orta captured Garner's final moments for the world, making "I Can't Breathe" a rallying cry for the movement for Black lives. But Orta served 4 years in prison after pleading guilty in 2016 to possession of a weapon and criminal sale of a controlled substance. However, he says he believes police and correctional officers harassed and targeted him and his family precisely because he filmed and released the Eric Garner video. Here's Orta in an interview with Democracy Now!'s Amy Goodman back in 2016.
Are you sorry you filmed the death of your friend Eric Garner? Are you sorry you put it out for the world to see?
No, I am sorry for not having a legal defense before I actually put the video out there. Other than that, I don't regret nothing.
Orta's release this month has coincided with another video that has reignited a movement for Black lives by 17-year-old Darnella Frazier, who filmed Officer Derek Chauvin killing George Floyd in Minneapolis. Floyd's killing and Frazier's video have once again set off a wave of racial justice uprisings. At the same time that civilians are exposing incidents of police brutality on camera more than ever before, many police officers are equipped with cameras of their own. But that doesn't mean they're helping. A 2019 study from George Mason University found that the use of body cameras alone was unlikely to have a significant effect on police accountability. But videos of police killings in all forms do seem to be making an impact, particularly in shaping public perceptions around law enforcement in the United States. Understanding the value and the toll of documenting police brutality is where we start today on The Takeaway. Palika Makam is a media activist and the U.S. Senior Program Coordinator at Witness, a nonprofit organization that uses video to protect human rights. Thanks for being with us, Palika.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
And Arthur Silky Slim Reed is the founder of Stop the Killing, an anti-violence nonprofit based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And members of his organization filmed and released the video of a police officer killing Alton Sterling in 2016. Arthur, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Arthur, let's start with you. Alton Sterling was killed in 2016 in Baton Rouge. That was the same summer that Philando Castile was killed in a suburb of St. Paul, Minnesota, which is the same metro area where George Floyd was killed. All three of these incidents were captured on video. Tell us, how did members of Stop the Killing end up filming Alton Sterling's killing?
We were gathering footage for a documentary called To Live and Die in America. And our normal routine would be to lurk and listen to police activity and film those particular incidents that we caught police interacting with the community.
The officer, Arthur, who shot and killed Alton Sterling did leave the Baton Rouge Police Department, but was never charged with a crime. You witnessed the killing. Tell us how that connected or didn't connect for you.
Well, definitely, it was like we seen one thing, and the individuals that was tasked with charging him, the Attorney General and the DA's office, seen something different. And if you're really familiar with the case, the chief of police has said that that individual never should have worn a badge. He was given a badge because he came from a long family of law enforcement, but psychology and his mental state wasn't right. So it was definitely just a sad situation for us.
That officer was never charged with a crime, the officer that killed Alton Sterling. Officer Chauvin, however, has been charged and arrested for second-degree murder for the killing of George Floyd. Arthur, do you believe the impact of video has shifted police responses today?
I think that the impact of video has always played a major part in telling the truth, but not necessarily holding them accountable. Jurors and other individuals happen to see things through a different set of eyes based on what the law has been. And I think that the uprising behind George Floyd is focusing on changing that law, changing those laws that give them so much discretion on how they can use deadly force. So I think that this is the most important time to be out filming. This is the most important time to try to document everything that we're seeing in action with the police.
Palika, let's bring you in here because to Arthur's point that this is a critical time for people to be out filming interactions with police. What is it that people, civilians who are considering filming the police, need to know about their legal rights? Is it our right to film the police?
Yeah, first of all, Arthur, I love how you put that video can help expose the truth, but it doesn't necessarily bring about accountability, at least not on its own. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I think the first thing to know is are your rights. In the United States, you have a First Amendment constitutional right to record law enforcement in public spaces as long as you don't interfere. And this is even during COVID-19 and regardless of your immigration status. The right has also been upheld by a majority of federal appeals courts throughout the country. But that being said, we know that what your rights are and how they play out in the real world are not always aligned. We know that, protesters who are utilizing their right to film are sometimes retaliated against, sometimes arrested. They won't be arrested for filming the police, but they'll be arrested for something like interfering with law enforcement. And whether or not you're interfering with the police enforcement is totally at the discretion of the police officer in the moment and later up to a judge or jury. So that's why I always tell folks it's best to keep at least 6 feet of distance between you and the incident, or about a car's length away if you're outside and need help kind of gauging that. If the police officer does tell you to back up, it's best to comply with their orders. You can even film your feet as you're backing up and say out loud, I'm complying with orders. So there's some sort of documented record that you complied. This is super important right now as there's been so much violence against protesters and retaliation against people filming during protests. It's helpful to have a record that shows the truth. And if police do tell you to stop filming, you can assert your right to film if you feel comfortable doing so. But if you feel that it's going to escalate the situation, I think it's best to stop filming. You can still stand there, bear witness, take notes. You can also still film valuable information from a distance, like from across the street or a balcony or a rooftop. And, we saw this with the protester, the 75-year-old protester in Buffalo who was pushed by the police officer. The person filmed from a little bit of a distance away, and he or she was also slightly elevated, standing on some stairs, and it gave us a great full view of the situation.
Palika, we're going to hear from Barry Friedman, who's someone who consulted with the Camden, New Jersey Police Department on their reform in just a few moments. I want to sort of pivot for a minute here to the use of body cameras, which is one of the reforms that started to catch on, particularly after the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson. And one of the issues, it's not just the community that's filming police. Police are now also filming the community. And there is a big debate now about whether this is for surveillance purposes or for accountability purposes. So let me play you a clip from Barry Friedman to hear what he had to say about that.
I like to separate other policing technologies from body cameras because most of those other policing technologies that we think about, like facial recognition or license plate readers, are surveillance technologies. And the theory behind the fortune we as a country have spent on body cameras is that they would be an accountability mechanism for the police.
Palika, your thoughts. Are they an accountability mechanism?
I just don't think that body cameras are going to solve any of our problems. If you think about it at a very basic level, body cameras are just another way for police to surveil us. They point towards us, not at themselves. And like you said, there was a huge call for more body-worn cameras after Eric Garner and Michael Brown Jr. were killed in 2014. And advocacy groups and civil rights groups really outlined recommendations for how body cameras could be effective if implemented, including developing camera policies in public with public input, committing to, well-defined purposes for which cameras and footage may be used, and having clarity over policies for recording, retention, and access. And I think most importantly, they demanded to make footage available to the public.
Let me respond with this, because in as we know, the rules and regulations for body cameras are patchwork across the country. Police departments all have their own sort of, make their own decisions on when they release, what they release, how long they keep the video for, et cetera. So there really isn't one sort of federal guideline, if you will, for body camera footage. I do want to bring up, however, the case of Amber Geiger, who was found guilty of the murder of Botham Jean, and body camera footage was important in that case. And I'm wondering, Arthur, if you were encouraged when you saw that.
Definitely, to see someone held accountable for the murder of an individual, especially after they tried to manipulate the situation, it was pleasing to us. But when you look at the amount of time and the leniency that was taken on the individual because it was an officer, it's always been our mindset that once you cross the line and break the law, then you're no longer an officer. You should receive the same type of sentence that a regular citizen receives.
Palika, we're also talking a little bit now, switching back to the community members who film police violence. I'm thinking particularly about the incident of George Floyd. We heard from Ramsey Orta at the top of the show, who filmed the killing of Eric Garner. What is the mental health impact on those who are filming not just police violence, but ultimately death?
Yeah, I think that's a really important question to consider. Like you said, Darnella Frazier, the 17-year-old who filmed George Floyd being killed, she's talked about how difficult being in the media spotlight has been right now. There's been people harassing her, trolling her. And on top of that, she's a young Black woman dealing with the trauma of having watched a man die in front of her eyes. And so, I think it's really important that people, not only people who are filming, but people who are viewing these incidents are, taking time to take care of themselves. And I know the DART Center has really great resources on, vicarious trauma, on taking breaks from looking at imagery like this. A personal stance that I take is I don't share footage of police violence. I might describe it. I might link to an article about it, but I try not to actually share the actual footage. And I always ask myself why am I doing this? What's my intention? Is it performative? Is it to show that I care? Is it because I'm upset? Is it because I think others haven't seen it? And then I ask myself, is there a way that I can share the importance of this footage without sharing the visuals myself and adding to the re-traumatization that Black communities are feeling right now?
Palika Makam is a media activist and the U.S. Senior Program Coordinator at Witness, and Arthur Silky Slim Reed is the founder of Stop the Killing, an anti-violence nonprofit based in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Thanks to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.